Hi, neighbors. Hi. I've been meaning to do a vlog, and I decided that maybe I'll do a vlog as I puzzle and share a little bit of what's been going on this side of the world, for us at least. I'll start by explaining what kind of puzzle this is. This is a Studio Ghibli puzzle. So the character is called No Face in English and Kaonashi in Japanese. It's from the movie Spirited Away, and this particular character is, I don't know, I think he's kind of cute, but he's pretty creepy. So I thought it'd be perfect for Halloween and for our vlog since we are living in Japan. This is an art crystal puzzle. It's made of acrylic, and I wish I could demonstrate the sound that it makes, but it clicks really well, and each puzzle piece just has such a nice, smooth feel. I like puzzles, but I have really bad asthma, and I've noticed that regular puzzles make me sneeze a lot, but when I found these in Japan at we go to a place that's nearby. When I found these, I was like so surprised at how much fun they were. They're also clear, so it's kind of cool to see at the end. So if you would just want to skip to the end, feel free. But yeah, anyway, they're really fun. The puzzles are really great. They're really well made, and it has the characters that I really like. We've also found other art crystal puzzles with different characters on them from other franchises, but I have stuck to doing Studio Ghibli characters. It was Studio Ghibli that actually first introduced me to Japanese culture when I was 11. And my mom will tell you this. I was obsessed, I think, with this one movie called Kiki's Delivery Service. And I didn't quite understand the context of it. But since then, I have really grown to love Studio Ghibli and sort of the meaning behind the art that they make. I really like Japanese animation, also known as anime. So yeah, that's a little background on this puzzle. It's I thought it would be harder than it actually was, but it was fine. It was really relaxing to do over about 45 minutes, which is usually about how long it takes me to finish one of these puzzles. They're about 126 pieces, so they're not very large. Usually I can finish them in one sitting or take a break in the middle. They've really helped me to wind down. My job is really stressful as a teacher, and I've found even in the last 2 weeks that I'm on my screens too much thinking, and this helps me to just do something. So I usually like to split the puzzle pieces into edges depending on their shape. And then I also try to find one main part of the image that stands out. So in this case, it would be no faces, face, and the little animal right there in purple, and kind of building around that particular centerpiece or character. And then yeah, so then I'll just build around it, and you'll see me kind of struggle through a few of the parts. But back to the vlog aspect of this, it has been a really difficult 2 weeks for us here in Japan. A lot of it has to do with just adjusting to living in a foreign country for us. My husband and I, as many of you know, are not Japanese. And while we did do a lot of thinking and asking and studying And, even in college, I did a lot of studying around Japanese culture and history and language learning. There's only so much you can do to prepare yourself before you actually move somewhere. For both of us, it's not our first experience living in an East Asian country, but it is our first experience living in Japan, and it's also our first experience living overseas as a married couple and as a couple who have 2 kids. All of that is really stressful, and we would be lying if we said it wasn't. And I think for me, as somebody who's the child of an immigrant to the United States, it brings up a lot of trauma. And while I know that my family did the best that they could in the situation that they were in, it was still really hard to be the child of an immigrant. So often I get memories of when I grew up and the struggles that we went through that I hadn't thought about in years. And that adds a whole nother layer to our time here in Japan. And I say all this coming from a place of what I consider to be privilege, and I think a lot of people would consider it privilege also, that I can actually speak English really well. And even though I am a woman of color, that I have certain credentials at this point, and I have certain things going for me that other people of color don't necessarily have, especially in Japan. And I think that it's difficult for me to reconcile that my suffering is valid. And I've been thinking about this a lot, and I've been really struggling, trying to look beyond just my suffering in the day to day and beyond the trauma that I've experienced to see the good things that come from having my children, myself, and my spouse live here. Even though we're here to serve students and families at a Christian international school, there's also the ordinary day-to-day life aspects that we can't ignore. And all of those things go hand in hand and often have created just a lot of fullness and not necessarily a positive way in our day to day, and trying to figure out what needs to be done and when, so that our life can have a better pace, is something that we are working on. Particularly me, when I'm in the state of constantly going, I don't have the ability to work through a lot of the things that are issues or even find time to rest. And that makes me kind of spiral into things that I shouldn't be spiraling in. And the only thing that could make that better is having good boundaries and having quiet times and times where we can just be as a family and then individually. And even our kids need this space in their day to day. And I know that it's also difficult when there's so much going on, but we're finally getting into a rhythm and a groove, even among all of that. So it's just been really hard to sort of push through these moments of questioning being in Japan, which I think anybody has, especially when it's been really, really difficult for us so far. And I don't say that to have people feel bad for us. Like, please don't. Our life here is so much more than I could have imagined. I never imagined that my kids would be able to go to school in the middle of a pandemic. I didn't imagine that there would be nature where they could freely go, like the river by our home. And I didn't even know that I could feel safe And while Japan is not perfect, no country or society is perfect, the level of safety here for me has really allowed my brain to rest from the anxiety and from the worry that had been in my life. And not just, it didn't just come naturally. I've, of course, gone through this, and those of you know that I've worked really hard to push through with a psychologist and therapist this anxiety that was overtaking my life. So all that to say is that Japan has been really great for us. It was the thing that we were called to in this season, but that doesn't mean that there isn't sacrifice and suffering. And some things that are sacrificed for me is somebody else's trauma, and some things that are trauma and suffering for me is somebody else's sacrifice. And that's really I don't want to say the lesson I've learned so far, but that's really the thing that I've worked through the last 2 months here. This week, although very difficult for us, was actually a really great week. I had a lot more work added to my workload, which is fine. It just means adjusting and trying to put time and places and things and people and planning all in their spot on a calendar. And we've also had sickness this week, and trying to go to the doctor in the hospital, trying to figure out why, certain symptoms are happening. And it was really stressful, and it just reminded me how I don't speak Japanese fluently, and how much easier it would be if I just learned it. I have been learning very slowly because I teach in English and in Spanish, and my brain capacity oftentimes after days like that are just it's really taken up, and I just need a rest from thinking. But it's really pushed me after this weekend to say, hey, I just need to learn Japanese. And I know you may be hearing this and you're like, well, duh, you should learn Japanese. But it has become an urgent thing. Like, the urgency to do it is there. And I think I just needed to get there. In my mind, I needed to adjust to my job, and I needed to adjust to living here before I could say, okay, I am going to spend this amount of time studying Japanese. It's the same thing with making a vlog about our lives, or making, an Instagram post. You just need to fit it in where you can. And I just have to accept that it's different for me right now, that I am going to be stretched for a while, and that it is okay to be a little bit stretched. Which, it's interesting because we want to enjoy the time here that we have, and we also want to be of service, and we want to find the ways that we can do all of the things and also rest and have relationships, and for us, most importantly, be good parents to our kids, because they are our responsibility and a choice we made and the loves of our lives. So we just want to not neglect them in any way, especially when our lives are sort of consumed with serving. How do you put your priorities in a way that is not neglectful of anything? And that is always difficult. I think the analogy that I always go back to, and I'm not sure where I heard this, but it stuck with me, is that imagine yourself juggling a whole bunch of balls. Some of those are made of glass, and some of them are made of plastic, And some of them are for your job, some of them are for your home life, etc. And there's certain ones that if you drop, the ones that are made of glass, the most important ones, they're going to break. And there's others that can drop and they're just going to bounce or be fine. And for me, it's really prioritizing those glass balls that are in the air. I don't want to drop one of those at work, and I don't want to drop one of those at home with my kids or with my spouse or with my friends. And that's really where I think the biggest tension of my life is right now. Relearning which ones are made of glass. And then making sure that those stay up. And that the ones that aren't necessarily less important, but the ones that won't necessarily break or cause damage if they're let go for a day or two, are let go, at least for the time being. And the beautiful thing about that is sometimes they overlap. I don't even know how that's possible. I think that's where my analogy breaks down. But this past week, I really wanted to do something different with my kids and my husband and our life. And I also wanted to show my students that I care about the things that they care about, or that I wanted to support them, that it was important to them. And, the same thing with my biological kids. I want to be there for the things that matter to them. So, also learning how to be a person who can be supportive even when it stretches me. And it really stretched me because I was very tired. But I think it's in those moments where you're sacrificing for others and supporting them in the things that they are interested in, that they're called to do, that a lot of joy can be found. So that's a little bit of what's been going on here with us. Yeah, it's been hard, but it's been good. And we're really grateful for this opportunity of growth for all of us, of professional growth for me, and for our kids being able to experience a different culture, especially as they navigate their own cultural and ethnic identities that are, not a lot of people are going to understand them. And I think for them to be placed in a situation that's safe and where they can understand that a little bit at a younger age has been a really huge blessing to us. So, yeah, that's been the last 2 weeks, last month or two of our lives here. We do put out our newsletter if you are interested in reading that. And I also have put up a blog, and I'll link that down below. And I do have a TikTok where I share little bits and pieces of our life, and an Instagram account if you'd like to follow that. Also, I'll link all of those down below. If you like to hear about our life here in Japan, I'll keep posting the links to these on Facebook, or you can subscribe to my channel. So here you'll watch me struggle a little bit towards the end of this puzzle. When pieces are all the same color and basically the same shape when you're puzzling, it's a little bit more difficult, even in smaller puzzles. I actually got into doing puzzles from this YouTuber named Karen Puzzles. She is amazing. I'll link her down below. And she talks a little bit about techniques and why certain things are difficult and how to kind of get through those really tough moments when you're doing a puzzle. Earlier this year, I actually had a really painful neck issue that was happening, and I watched so many of her videos. They just helped me to focus in and learn a new skill that I didn't know that I wanted to learn. And just kind of hearing her, watching her really helped me to find this new hobby that I could do. I don't think I'll ever do a huge puzzle because they are really tough. But puzzles like this, you know, finding the thing that you like within a hobby is so important. Like, I love to draw and I'm not good at it, but I've learned that if I do shapes or images that are really simple, just getting in the habit of doing a hobby is actually really essential. And then it leads to more creativity. So for me, it's puzzling right now, trying to figure out how to make videos that allow us to share our lives with you all and also brings us some joy and rest. So that's why I wanted to do it this way. But yeah, check out her channel. Again, I'll link it down below. And if you want to keep, you know, track of us, subscribe to our channel. So here is the last few pieces. At this moment, I was really nervous because I thought that I had lost one of the pieces. And I was really upset. And then I found it. That's what I get for opening a puzzle before I'm ready to start making it. But the puzzle has all the pieces, and I just love like the neon signs behind No Face, and I kind of really like the size of the puzzle. It just looks like a nice picture, and you'll see me put it on the frame. I was getting up and getting it right now, and I wanted to show you what did I do? And I wanted to show you kind of the end result. So here it is. You'll see after I put it in the frame and put it up to the light that the light goes through and it creates this really nice stained glass look. And that's what really drew me to these puzzles first. I really like the idea of making something and then being able to use it in your home for decoration or doing something as a gift. You know, not everybody loves puzzles or receiving a done puzzle, but some people might really enjoy it. I know that I would. That's what my husband got me for my birthday. So here he is, all finished, and you'll see the light go through, and it looks so cool, and I love it. All right, I'll see you next time. Have a great weekend. Happy Halloween, neighbor. Bye.